If you like to bass fish, you're going to love this week's episode. Look at all this stuff. Matted hydrilla, floating water hyacinth, all kinds of swampy looking stuff out here. Every place you look looks like a place a bass ought to live. We're taking you to a place that's loaded with them today. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad you're with us. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southeast region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hey everyone, we're coming to you today from a location that is loaded up with big old alligators and slithering snakes and critters of all kinds running around back in these woods and marshes. This is a great location because it's also loaded with big mouth bass. We're going largemouth bass fishing on this week's episode at a location we've never been to, and I'd like to welcome you in right now just north of the Florida-Georgia border to Lake Seminole. It's 38,000 acres of all kinds of good fishing. We're going to concentrate on the bass today with the help of a few guide buddies of mine. We're going to be taking the Nitro Z20 out on the water today and do some scouting around. Hopefully catch a few bass and show you some information in case you'd like to come here, make a trip of your very own and catch some. And while we're doing that, we're taking you around the region for your latest fishing reports from our expert team of insider reporters. Right now, we get things started back at the FSN studios in your weekend planner.
The Salooner tables are predicting terrific game fish activities for both days this weekend. Saturday's action is forecast as excellent, with the best times beginning at 2:48 a.m. and 3:18 p.m., while Sunday's conditions are listed as good. Expect the sun to rise at 6:29 and set at 8:36. And we just had a new moon, so evenings will be mostly void of moonlight. Stay with us. We've got fishing reports from across the area on the way. Plus, I'll return with this week's Ask the Pro feature. Back in a bit.
We've got the boat launch now, and if you're coming to Lake Seminole, one of the things you should do is just a little side trip is take a little jaunt through the connector canal that connects Spring Creek and the Flint River. We'll head to a quick commercial break before we start fishing, and we'll leave you with a little bit of sight and sound of the little connector canal between the river and the creek.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lou's. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland. We know bass and crappie from heads to tails. Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama. Plan your fishing vacation and catch the details at orangebeach.com/fishing. And by Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades.
Thank you, buddy. There's a long, skinny old male bass right there. There's a fish. Down in grass, there he comes up. There he comes in that clear water. He's a fish, there's a start. All right, we've made it out on Seminole. Thank you, buddy. There's a long, skinny old male bass right there. Swimming around out there on a sandy spot. That fish needs to go eat something, but a lot of fun to catch. Hey, welcome back everybody. There he goes. The entire floor of this lake is lined with hydrilla or grass. So the whole bottom is green, but there will be some white sandy spots. There'll be hard bottoms, and bass do like a hard bottom. They like it to feed on. They like to get on the edge of where that sand meets the grass to ambush prey. See this flat we're in? This whole flat's 3 to 5 feet deep. A few scattered stumps out here, a lot of grass, vegetation of all kinds. This whole thing will be matted up all through the summertime. That hydrilla grows all the way to the surface. So you've got to really switch tactics. If you're coming here in the really warm weather months, you've got to flip and pitch the edges of the hydrilla beds. It's some of the most fun fishing you can do because you can catch them on a frog, like a Strike King popping perch.
Mirror Lure, building quality saltwater lures since 1937. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a mirror lure. Well, I was talking to my good friend Jake Marquis over in Fairhope, Alabama, and he says that the red drum fishing there is as good as he's seen in recent years. It's a lot of different places in the bay. Jake, real good fisherman, recommends using live shrimp underneath Fairhope rattlers, which is a type of a popping cork. He recommends the Fowl River, the Theodore Industrial Canal, Dolphin Island, and the Ben Secor area, which is on the Intercoastal Waterway. He says while trout fishing isn't as good as it was a few weeks ago, there's still plenty of limits being caught. He says snapper is still very plentiful offshore. They're catching limits of fish in 40 to 80 feet of water, and there's Spanish mackerel and king mackerel being caught on live baits and trolled around the oil rigs offshore. In Mississippi, off Bay St. Louis and the town of Waveland, which is on the east side of the Chandelier Islands, the trout and red fishing has been just excellent. The fish are in the slough areas near the sandbars. They tend to be in a little bit deeper water. The water is very clear, use fluorocarbon leaders, and my son Eric was fishing there. He says the area is loaded with sharks. So if you're wade fishing, be very careful. If you're dragging a stringer of fish, also be mindful of the sharks coming up to that stringer. Over in Georgia, Captain Greg Hildreth in St. Simons Island says the tarpon are there in a big way, fishing is good, and lots of sharks around the shrimp boats. Well, that's it for the Southeast Coast. Get out in the water and take a youngster with you when you go.
That one hit my trick worm again. Boy, that's another long and skinny bass. Right on the edge of lily pads where it goes to hydrilla, just a little bit of a change. And a fish bit, right on cue. Look at that. Right where he's been reading all the fishing magazines and watching the TV shows, and he's learned where he's supposed to be. So that's a cool little lesson for you. Hi everybody, we are at beautiful Lake Seminole. And this place, it can be overwhelming. There can be so much stuff to fish that you really don't know where to fish. And so you really need a guide. I'm gonna give you all the guide contact information a little bit later. They've got a great website and a great organization with 2 or 3 really good guides on this lake. But what I'm trying to key on are places too where the types of vegetation change. We talked about the hydrilla, the coontail, the hyacinth, the lily pads, the reeds. So that spot was a little high spot where some lily pads were growing, and you can see them, it's kind of scattered right through here, but then they end and hydrilla starts growing. So if you can find those edges of where that hydrilla is, flip and pitch along the edge of those, plastic baits work real well. That one ate my little tattletale worm off my bare hook. But find those places where the vegetation changes and you've got a great chance of catching some bass.
Hey guys, this week's Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama Fishing Report is brought to you by the Henry County Tourism Authority. You can go to fishkentuckylake.com and find out about all the upcoming events. Hey guys, let's start out with Alabama this week. There's some good fishing in Alabama. It's getting hot summertime, so it really changes the way you have to approach things. On Guntersville, things change a little bit when it gets super hot. Oftentimes the fish will make a pretty mass exodus of the offshore ledges and go to the grass that grows on top of the ledges. They migrate to that grass, which gives oxygen and cover, and there's tons of bait and predatory opportunities. And a good way to fish that grass is sit back out of it and take a light tungsten weight on a Texas rig worm, cast it up into the grass and fish it back out. As it matures and mats up, you can also flip around the edges of it and catch some big ones. In Mississippi, Tombigbee State Park. I heard a cool report from there the other day. A guy went and caught bass and crappie in the same trip. And the cool thing is he caught them in kind of the same places. They're suspended off deep points. For bass, he was throwing a Carolina rig lizard. And for crappie, he was fishing a deep jig on a piece of plastic. In Tennessee, let's talk Chickamauga real quick. It's kind of like Guntersville. Those bass are getting very grass oriented. The grass this time of year really starts to mature and the fish really get around it. And you just fish the edges of it, fish the pockets in it, and as it gets thicker, you can flip it. So guys, there's a lot going on in this three-state region, a lot of good fishing right now. We'd love to see you here. God bless. At the heart of Kentucky Lake is a special place known as Paris, Tennessee. It's a place where fishing, hunting, dining, shopping, and family fun are all served with a side of Southern hospitality. We hope you'll join us soon and experience this world by the water.
Got it. He's got it. Got him. A little bit better fish. Come out from under that boat. There we go. That one hit my trick worm again. Boy, that's another long and skinny bass. You can tell the spawn is long since over with. No eggs, although that would probably be a female. There's my trick worm, and I want to show you something there. That's what I'm fishing. That's how I'm catching these fish. And I want to show you a little quick demonstration on how I'm working it. If you've never fished a trick worm before, it's a really tantalizing way to catch a bass. And the way I fish it is cast it out there, and you want to position yourself where you can cast downwind, because you have either very little or no weight on it. Because you do, you can't have a crosswind. Once you get it out there, let it settle on a slack line for about 6 or 8 seconds. You want to fish this with your rod tip up at about the 11 o'clock position, like mine is now. Hop, hop, hop. Take up that slack. Feel it on the way down. They get it on the way down when it's falling. Take up that slack. Hop, hop, hop. And then what you want to do is you want to fish it on what I call a tight slack line. You want some slack in it, but you want it to be bowed. And the strike will be one of two things. Either like that one, where your line literally just starts swimming off sideways. You don't feel a thing. You've just got tension on your line going sideways. Or as it's fluttering back and falling, they'll pop it and you'll see your line jump. Just a little snap of that bow in your line.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Motor Guide's new wireless and easy-to-use XI3. XI batteries powering the world forward. Waypoint Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist. And Strike King, designed by the pros, fished by you.
Oh, nice jump, fella. Yeah, pretty nice fish. There he is. Right in that grass. There we go. Well, I tell you, the action has been steady. This lake is an interesting combination of both numbers and quality. Now, there's nothing wrong with that bass as far as quality. That's just a stout, solid bass. But they have big ones in here, and our guides, Matt and Paul and Nick, actually, with LakeSeminoleFishingGuides.com, stay on top of these fish, and they catch big ones. These fish do run into the double digits. There are regular 10+ pound bass that get caught out of here, and I think the lake record is 15-ish, somewhere in that range. But I was talking to one of the guides yesterday, and he said that pretty much everybody that fishes this lake regularly has caught at least one double-digit bass.
Hey folks, it's time for the Carolinas Report, this week brought to you by the Crazy Sister Marina. Remember, we're the leader in water sports. We're located on the Marsh Walk. We've been here for years, and we can take care of everything you want to do on the water. Rent a kayak, become a pirate, go out on a great private charter boat, or go out on a head boat with a bunch of your great friends. We can do it all. Visit crazysister.com for more information. Let's talk about the water temperatures. Really, really warm. Salt water, fresh water. It's that time of the year. Early in the morning, late afternoon is the best tip I can give you. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to get out and target some big flounder, again, this time of the year, those reefs and nearshore live bottoms really get loaded up with flounder this time of the year. You can get out with some big artificial baits or some big live baits and catch some of the biggest doormats you're going to find this year throughout the Carolinas, North and South Carolina. Concentrate right on top of the structure. Make sure you've got some heavy jig heads to get that bait down quick, or use a Carolina rig, but get it quick to the bottom and work those baits right on that structure. You're going to find some really big flounder this time of the year. Let's move inshore in the backwaters. You can find black drum throughout the Carolinas, but I'll tell you right now, along the Grand Strand, Little River, Murrells Inlet, Garden City, a lot of big black drum being caught. Find those deeper holes at low tide. The fish are going to be concentrated in there. Good, fresh shrimp can't be beat. Native salt clams is another great option. Get out and fish those areas right now. Get in those deep holes at low tide. You're going to find some real big black drum no matter where you are. This has been your Carolinas Report. This is brought to you by Crazy Sister Marina. Remember, fish smarter, not harder, and keep your chaos organized.
There's one. Oh, nice jump, fella. And a pretty nice fish. Hey, boy, these fish fight hard now. It's still not done. There we go. All right, there's another good one right there. On my little wacky rig right there. I tell you, I don't fish a trick worm very often, but it's really paid off today. And here we go. Let go of my glove. There we go. If you're coming here, by the way, I want to mention something. I was out yesterday doing a little scouting around, and I want to show you just a couple of quick clips. The first one is a fish I caught right in the lily pad. So if you really like pad fishing, if you like fishing a topwater frog or flipping around pads or even a spinnerbait or something like that, this is your place. So there's a lot of lily pads here, and you see right behind me where I catch this fish here. And then there's this stuff called peppergrass, and then there's hydrilla. And I caught one fish right out of the hydrilla. In fact, the fish kind of balled up in the hydrilla, and I got a pretty good mat of it there. The later in the year it gets, the thicker the hydrilla gets, and at the peak in the middle of the summer, miles and miles and miles of nothing but hydrilla mats growing all the way to the surface here. And we're gonna go to a flipping type of a jig, like a Strike King, Greg Hackney Hack Attack jig would be a perfect one. About a 3/4 ounce, they'll punch through that grass.
You can always watch our latest episode on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Catch up on past episodes by clicking the archive button and learn about fishing techniques and new gear at our how-to page. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for new fishing videos every day. Simply search for Fox Sports Outdoors and click the like button on Facebook and follow button on Twitter. And watch a new episode every week on any device by downloading the free Waypoint TV app on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Champions aren't born, they're made. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. And Lowrance and the new Hook 2, the world's easiest fish finder.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Ask the Pro question. This week, William asks, is there anything I can do to reduce wind knots on my spinning rod and reel? For the answer, we asked Joey Farah of Backwater Fishing Adventures while he was helping on one of our recent Fox Sports Outdoors shoots.
One thing that we do have a lot of problems with in these high wind situations here in South Texas is wind knots. And one of the most important things is to keep your line tight to the reel in this area here close to your hand. One of the biggest problems I see is anglers engaging the bail with the handle instead of switching it over with their hand. So on a cast, I'll make a long cast, and as it hits the water, I'll close that and extend my finger to keep that line tight on the spool. And that keeps you from getting those wind knots deep into the spool.
Thanks, Joey. If you have a question for one of the pros, visit our website, click on the Ask the Pro link, and send it in. Now, stay with us to see the latest Big Catch of the Week winner.
Every week at this time, someone gets their big fish photo right here on the show with the Big Catch of the Week contest. I'll tell you how to enter in just a moment, but first, this week's winner. He's Mike Iannella of Marietta, Georgia, with a 25-pound striped bass he caught at West Point Lake in Georgia. If you would like to be our next winner, just go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com, click in the Big Catch of the Week area on the right side of the homepage and follow the instructions. You could get your 15 seconds of fame with your big fish. Next up, here's some gear that you'll need if you're coming here to Lake Seminole to catch some of their great bass. It begins with fluorocarbon line. You need fluorocarbon here, number one, for the strength and all that grass. Number two, some of this water is really clear and fluorocarbon is next to invisible. Now the rod and reel I used were the Team Lew's Custom Pro Speed Stick rod and the Team Lew's Hyper Mag reel. This is a great setup for fishing all of these various plastic baits that we caught the bass on today. You do need to set this reel up properly. I've got a demo video on our how-to page on our website that explains how to properly set this up for casting light baits or any other baits. Go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com, click on the how-to section and look for the Team Lew's Hyper Mag setup instructions. Now as far as the baits go, it begins with the little trick worm setup I was using, the Wacky Rig. It's a little small hook with a weight on the head, a very light weight, and then you stick that Gene LaRue tattletale worm right through the middle, and that is the Wacky setup that I used a lot today. Other baits that worked here: Gene LaRue salt flicker, salt plastic jerk bait rigged with no weight. Just rigged it on about a 4/0 offset worm hook, and that worked well. You also need a Texas rig for flipping and pitching around some of this grass. And here are a couple of other baits you need to have handy if you come here around all this grass. A Strike King spinnerbait like you see the one there, and the Strike King Pop and Perch. If you want to do some of that heart-stopping top water action across the tops of some of these lily pads and grass beds, that bait will work well. Today I'd like to pass along a little quote from a good buddy of mine, Doc Geiger, who lives in Oklahoma, used to be one of our reporters here on the show and still a very good friend. He sends out a little message each day via email. He says, "Each day is presented to us fresh and clean at midnight, free of charge. But we must be aware, today is a non-renewable resource. Once it's gone forever. We live way too fast. We speed through life like we're fast forwarding through commercials. We try to live several days at one time, not just one. It's time to stop, live moment by moment, and see what's around us, and choose to enjoy the good things, the blessings we're presented with. It's time to pause, take a deep breath, look and listen, and see what today, just today, might bring." Hey, thanks for spending your half hour with us here from Lake Seminole on the Georgia-Florida border near Bainbridge, Georgia. It's a beautiful and an excellent fishing lake. I think you would enjoy a trip here. Here's the guide information if you'd like to book your very own fishing trip to catch some of the bass like we did today. Also, don't forget to join us on Facebook and Twitter. We put up brand new videos and lots of good fishing information every day. Like us on Facebook, follow us on our Twitter feed. We'll see you right back here next week. Until then, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.